And we are live. I'm sitting here with Irma Medina Mazon. She is the owner of Antonella Handcrafts. She is a mom of two who's hustling from home and making a name for herself as one of Tucson's most talented custom merch artists.
Hi,
How's
everyone.
that sound?
That sounds pretty powerful.
Is that a pretty cool intro?
Yeah.
I would feel pretty good if somebody introduced me like that. Feel like a WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming. I like a lot of people here have been creeping on you on Instagram and see that you're making some moves. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it?
Well, thank you for having me, first off. Antonella Handcrafts. Let's start there. Antonella Handcrafts, which a lot of people ask me if that's my name. No, Antonella Handcraft. Actually, Antonella is Italian for beautiful creations.
Nice. I like the way you say it, by the way.
Thank you. And actually, the name just started in regards to, because I didn't start my business doing what I do now. I started with paper flowers, so paper decor. And I didn't want to, even then, it's almost like I knew when I was trying to think of the name, I didn't want to funnel myself. I didn't want it to scream like this is what I do is paper flowers. I said, what if I evolved into something else? Like I don't want to have to change my name, change my following, change my branding and do all of that. So I wanted something that encompasses what I wanted to do, which was create. And I don't know why I was drawn to this name specifically, but I was, so I went with it. And now it's evolved into, from paper flowers. I started doing custom merchandise, which started with just t-shirts and vinyl cups, which I don't do anymore at all. And now it's become more of custom merchandise, and it varies. It varies from people who just want a custom gift or a custom shirt or a custom cup to businesses who want promotional items or wearability for their clients, because that's a huge thing with me is that anybody can go get a shirt made. Like that's nothing new now, right?
Yeah.
But I like it to be wearable. Everybody gets these shirts that are just cheap. People are just trying to make $1 off of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But are they wearable? Are they soft? Is your client actually going to wear that advertisement that you're putting on it? Like
they're going to use it to paint their house.
Right? Or a sleeping shirt or rags, whatever it is. So that's huge with me. But that's also evolved into talking more and more to other businesses and what they need help with.
Sure.
So a lot of people need help with the design process, even just with like business cards, because I like being down in like the nitty gritty beginning of like where you have this idea, where do I take it? So I've been now doing that, is helping businesses just get that business card. And, once you see your name on a business card, like
it's a different feeling.
The way that it hits you, like people don't know that. Or designing that logo.
Yeah.
Or, that banner that you need for a certain event. Like all of these things that are like small building blocks that normally nobody would think about, because I wouldn't, if I think a few years back. But now it's just such a crucial point to any business. And to have the help of how to do it and make it easy for somebody is huge.
Yeah.
So Antonella Handcrafts is still evolving, but I'm holding on to my handcraft side because I love the making part of it. It's me.
Yeah.
I'm always creating, but it's definitely evolving into so much more that I even aspired to.
I love that. I love seeing that, the evolution of a business, right? And what you do is actually it's pretty damn poetic for, the services you provide to somebody who, either just started their business, is thinking about starting their business, and just, I guess, witnessing them and being a part of that idea or that vision just unfold on merch, right? On business cards. It sounds pretty fucking simple, but it's not. Like there's a huge emotional connection that I'm sure you have with being able to deliver a product and say, hey, this is what you've been working on. This is your vision. It's finally here. Let's go put it out into the world, right?
Yeah, to finally visualize it and see it out there. Even just like when you get that file of your first logo,
Yeah.
that you're like blown away by it.
Even just like the mock-up.
It's just like real. Like
Yeah.
it just slowly starts becoming real.
Yeah.
People don't understand that.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something that's definitely like it's very poetic. It's very emotional. I remember when I was getting the mock-ups to my first, logos and stuff, I was like, oh man, this is happening. Like this is happening, right?
Because
And
you
when-
feel it in you. Like you know what you want to do, and you think you know how to get there, right? Because you've been thinking about it so long. But everybody needs that help. Like, and then there's so many people who have absolutely no guidance. Absolutely. Like no idea where to start.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's crazy. And I completely agree with you. So how did you so you started with paper crafts and it obviously evolved, but how did this all start? I mean, you still work from home, which is amazing. I mean, you have what most people aspire to do, and that's work in their damn PJs, right? Walk 10 minutes, or not 10 minutes, 10 steps, 10 minutes.
My house isn't that big.
Right. Walk 10 steps into the workshop that you've made for yourself at home, and that's the life, right? And you get to spend time with the kiddos. And so how did you build that stuff up for you?
Dude, that's a huge question. So I mean, this is still new to me. This is still very new to me. I just started doing this full time in November. I just left my job in November. So
Tell me how that happened. What happened?
So-
What's going down?
Oh,
Rumor
man.
report.
Okay, so quick background story on this. I used to be, now I say I'm retired, a aircraft technician. So I used to work on aircraft
What?
for 12 years.
You were a mechanic
Yep, for 12 years.
for planes. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yes.
Let's add that to the long list of why Irma's a badass.
So, oh man. I mean, if we want to start on that side. So, male dominated field,
Yeah.
100%. I was always, if not the only girl there, maybe two or three, trickling in and out. But in my 12 years, I was the only girl in my crew and anywhere that I went. And you grow up with the mentality that, you perform, you do good work, your work will get recognized.
Yeah.
Not always the case. That I thought guaranteed I was the hardest person working all the time, day in and day out. And not just because I am a hard worker, but because I always had to prove myself. Always, 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 always. So I always had to work harder than the guy sitting next to me, the guy to my left, the guy to my right. I always felt like I had to prove myself. And even when I didn't, even when I earned the respect because I worked for several different companies when I didn't have to, I still did just because that's the way I am. But I always thought, my work will get recognized. So when I thought I was ready and I wanted to move up, I applied. For 2 years, I did the position, but that position was never given to me.
Oh, wow.
So for 2 years, they kept interviewing me. They would give it to somebody else that was less qualified. Or they would tell me that I didn't have enough experience, which was always confusing to me. I'm like, but I'm doing the job already.
Right.
But they don't want to give me the pay. They don't want to give me the official status, right? So I kept trying, and up to a point, like I started feeling down about myself. Like, am I not good enough? Or am I not what they're looking for? That was that point. But I still continued to push through it and, still kept thinking, no, the day will come when I will get recognized. Eventually that turned into where I ended up having to train the people that were getting the job that I was like aspiring to do. So then that turned into like hate, right? And then I started hating it. I hated that I wasn't being seen to where I thought I was, and then eventually, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not at all. And then that's when it kind of started. But then I started working on myself. Then I had to change my mentality because I felt it like that bitterness of like this corporation, you know, the grind of just like, okay, here we go, gotta go to work, I gotta pay my bills, like that hatred like seeping into me, where then I had to change my mentality, where then I realized, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. I am the hardest person that's working here, working the hardest. I am the best, but they don't see it. Is it because they're intimidated? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because they're just, I don't know, but it wasn't me.
Bunch of things were just running through your head.
Right, so many things. So I had to change my mentality. So that's when I realized, you know what, maybe they'll never see me as what I think I am.
Right.
So that's when I started, you know, paving a different path. But it all started with working within myself.
Yeah. I like that.
That's where that started. But this was years ago, before like I even started anything.
I don't see any sludge on your fingers.
No way.
Those look like some really clean hands.
No
I
way.
can't believe.
You should see me. If I would show you a picture of me working, I look like a 12-year-old boy. You cannot imagine. I always wore long sleeves because I didn't want any cuts. I didn't want any bruises. I was wearing gloves, of course. A hat, because I always had my hair back. Well, if anybody doesn't know who I am, like my head's shaved. Like the bottom of my head is shaved.
Love it, by the way. It's dope.
Thank you. So if I pull my hair back, like I literally, and I put a hat on, I look like my head's shaved. So I look like a little boy.
Yeah.
So it's a total difference of what I look then to outside of work.
So
right?
now would you feel like your look, I mean, I feel like it sounds like you've not only evolved as a professional, but you've just evolved as a person. Like you look like somebody that's so damn comfortable in their own skin, they're not afraid to show it.
I feel like I've always looked this way, but at work I didn't, right? Because I was at a male-dominated field, and even though you think that now in a day, you know, somebody should, you know, be professional in a workplace, and I shouldn't have to tolerate, you know, men being men, but it's a reality. And
what was that like, working with a bunch of dudes?
I mean, I got used to it. I feel like I got used to it in the beginning. Like even interviewing straight out of college was rough. Like, it was very rough. Like my first interview, like the guy looked at me and he basically gave me a tour. Like he didn't ask me anything. He didn't. And I was like in such shock. Like it was such a slap in the face. Like he wouldn't even ask me anything. He was like, okay, well, thank you for your time. And I was like, what? Like, that's it? You're not going to ask me anything?
Right. Get
like,
to know my character, dude?
Nothing,
like, what up?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
So I really had to start low in my career. Like, I had to take the job, the company that people don't want to work for, just to get the experience. But that was amazing, actually, because I got to meet a lot of good people there. And the industry itself is very, very stressful, high stress, always. But I got to meet a lot of good people.
That's good.
That's what I miss is the people, which I'm still in touch with a lot of them, at least the people that were important to me.
Yeah.
But man, being just a number is just like, it's rough.
That's one I have to agree with you on that. That's one of the things that I personally miss, you know, working for somebody else, working for another organization, is the great people you meet, right? The bonds you create with some of your coworkers, because you become more than friends with some of them. You're able to click with intellectuals that you can relate to, and when you're doing your own thing, there's a con. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, and one of the cons to being self-employed, or being, you know, the boss, right, to an organization is that you don't have those bonds or connection with those kinds of people anymore. And I'm fucking there right now, you know.
It's lonely.
I'm looking around and I'm like, fuck, like, does anybody want to talk to me? Like, anybody want to come say hi to me? I'm not a dick, I promise. Yeah. Like, you know, and yeah, it's one of the things that I definitely miss. But I wouldn't go work for somebody else just for that, you know? No,
definitely not. Well, that's the one thing that, now I am in control is, you know, I used to always joke with the guys at work, and because I always used to take lunch by myself always, always, always. I was never in the lunchroom. I was always outside or in some office hiding somewhere, just like my lunch by myself. And they would always make fun of me. And I'm like, look, I already pretend to like you guys, you know, during my regular work day. Like my lunch is sacred to me. Like it's my lunch, right? So that is one thing that now I am growing to appreciate is being in control to who's in my life.
Right.
Even in just like in colleagues, right? Because I get to collaborate with a lot of people. But it's the same thing. If you're not at my level or if you don't support my values, then I don't have to work with you.
Don't you love that?
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That is amazing because you get the feel for people.
Yeah. Oh, that was huge for me too because I still do mortgage loans. Mm-hmm. I'm a mortgage loan originator, so I stay in the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. And that was a big thing for me because once I was a part of a lending team where we didn't have a choice of who we worked with, right? If they paired you with somebody to work with, it's like, you're going to work with this real estate agent. I'm horrible. Like, fuck, I hate that real estate agent, right? Hate's a strong word, but yeah, now that I'm doing it on my own, now I'm an independent broker. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, I have the freedom of doing whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want.
Yeah.
And as an independent broker, I can literally choose who I want to work with. And there's 6,000 real estate agents in just Tucson alone. Right. There's, I think, 60,000 in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of real estate agents in the state, okay? And being able to have the freedom of saying, you know what? And I've literally said it before to real estate agents that I've literally said, fuck you. I'm not going to work with you. Take your shit somewhere else. You know, because there's some people that are just like, they're toxic.
There is.
You know, and I'm just like, yo, this commission, this $4 or $5, maybe $6,000 check, to me, literally is not fucking worth it with having to deal with your ass for the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. And it's a 30 to 45 day process, right? So now I'm in a position where I'm just like, fuck you, right? If you don't bring anything good into my life, the money, because I don't do it for the money. I mean, that's a side hustle now, you know, being an independent broker. So being able to pick and choose who you want to work with is so great.
But yeah, because you've built it that way, right? Like you have such a foundation that you can make it.
Yeah.
You know, your side hustle and you get to pick and choose. But, you know, you can always, like sometimes you do have to like do things for the money, but you always have to remember your team and your values because it's true to you and it's what's either going to slow you down or, you know, push you forward.
That's huge when it comes to collaborating as well. Specifically like with creatives, right? Mm-hmm. Because, when somebody wants to collaborate with you, and I've been approached for collaborations and stuff like that, and you're right. If you feel personally like that's going to conflict with your personal values, what you stand for, why you do it, if you feel like that might tarnish your rep or just fuck with your values, and that's when you're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this, right? Mm-hmm. And there's also people that claim to be money hungry, right? And claim to be ambitious. And, you know, they're like, come on, bring your collabs up front. And I've tried to collaborate with a lot of local people. Mm-hmm. I guess I just don't have that big of a following for them, right? But eventually, once we get there, I'm going to tell all you motherfuckers, if you're listening, you can fuck off and take your collaboration somewhere else. Yeah. But I've tried to collab with other people, right? Give, you know, whether it be coming on the podcast or doing some sort of Insta collaboration, you know, video creation, video editing and stuff like that. Cause I can do all that shit. Right. Mm-hmm. And most people are like gung ho about it. And then they completely go, and these are local people. Yeah. Like, dude, you got 10,000 followers, bro. It's not a big deal. Like I'll have that in like, give me 2 months and I'll have 10K followers. Right. So, yeah.
Just that people get so wrapped up into this social media clout that it's not even real. It's like, really do you know who's your active followers? Because that number doesn't mean anything. Like, do you do your own research?
Aside from that, a lot of people don't also grasp the concept of like the insights that these followers give you, right? Like, are they just following you because you were a part of a contest giveaway, and they're gonna unfollow you once that shit's down and they didn't win, or are they truly following you and truly supporting you? Because there's a huge difference between a follower and a supporter. Right. And even people that have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers aren't supporters. Right. So like for me, and I'm not huge on that. Like I only have like 60 posts on Instagram or something like that. I don't really pay that much attention to it. but I don't want people hitting that follow button just because, right? I want people joining the movement. I want people joining and actually supporting. There's a huge difference, and you can feel that on there because there are a handful of people that literally genuinely reach out and say, dude, great video, dude, love what you got going on, dude, love this episode, love that you said that, blah blah blah. Those are the kind of people I absolutely want to not only support them, but I absolutely appreciate that kind of support, but not from like these fake fucking followers that ain't gonna give you shit.
It's not real. It's not real. And a lot of people get stuck in that those numbers, that clout, that they just, I guess it becomes an internal issue where they feel like they're important when they're not.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that you say that because there's a lot of people like that in Tucson.
Yeah. There's a lot of people like that in general.
Yeah, period.
They have to feel important, so they like gravitate to these things. When to you and I, none of that matters.
Yeah.
Because I remember my son told me that one day, and I know where it came from. And I don't want to get into that, but my son said, "Mom, why do you keep posting things if nobody likes them?" And I just started laughing, right? But initially, I was like, "Who are you talking to?" Right? But then I knew exactly that's not him speaking, you know. I'm like, how do you know? You don't have an account.
Yeah, I feel you.
But then that's when it actually hit me, why do I do this, right? And it's not because, oh, I have, 4 likes or I have 5,000. It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter to me. And I look into my insights on my business account on Instagram and Facebook just because I want to see what people are paying attention to. So what people are liking and in regards to what they're actually viewing, not hitting like.
Right.
There's a big difference, right?
You're strategizing.
Right. Just to see what people want to see more of. So I don't want to keep posting, cup pictures when, people are done with that.
I'm fucking done with cups.
Yeah. So if you want to see more, of my inspiration or I have gradually turned into my merchandise into more of an empowerment movement.
Hell yeah.
And have more empowering quotes and stuff. So when people see that, I get more engagement. So that's why I look into these things. And just like you said, when you get that person that it's man, that's amazing. I need that in my life. Mm-hmm. Or I needed to hear that today. That's what makes it all worth it. And it can only be one. It doesn't have to be in the thousands.
That's it, man. That's it. And I hear a lot of people, people are already self-conscious in person. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, but it all has to do with your mindset too. Right. If you are wanting to grow your follower base on any kind of social media platform, remember that you have to start. Mm-hmm. And also remember that when you start, you should not have these ridiculous expectations that everybody's going to watch this video, right? It's like when you first start a business, you can't just expect to say, all right, doors are open, come on in, guys.
Yeah, floodgates, right?
Right. It's not going to be flooded with customers, dude. You gotta, work hasn't even started when you start, right?
No.
So me right now, example, when I put out my first podcast episode, and I was so excited for it because I invested all this time, money, and effort into making this.
Oh, and learning.
This thing.
Learning.
Yeah, that was the hardest part, is learning.
You have to teach yourself how to do all of these things.
There's so much to it. For anybody listening that wants to do a podcast, it's really not that easy, but it's as simple as you want it to be.
Right.
So, and I'm gonna end up uploading a video on YouTube showing you guys how to do what I did so that you can get this thing onto things. But there's a lot of shit involved. Mm-hmm. So I went through all these hoops, did the first episode, dropped it, and I think I had 9 people listen to it on the first day. And immediately I was like, fuck, this was a flop, right? Mm-hmm. And I dropped episode 2, and I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm going to keep going. I'm committed to this. I've already put all this money into it. I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. Episode 2, we had 20. Episode 3, we had 50. Mm-hmm. Episode 4, we had 150. I'm like, oh shit, yes, this is how it works, right? And I think we got up to 1,000 by the end of the season 1, which, to me is a huge deal because
it is huge.
A podcast is pretty long, mm-hmm. And for you to go through and listen to these things and honestly, it's so elevating to get messages from people, mm-hmm. Saying, dude, great shit, love what you got going on, and giving me suggestions, right? And I listen to all of this shit. I'm like, oh, that's what you want to hear next, right? That's gonna be on the next one. So it's great, but the point to that is, like, if you're trying to create content, or if you're trying to make some sort of movement or start a business, like, don't have the expectations of that shit going to be like super popping from the get-go. Right. But if you keep working fucking hard, it will eventually get there, and you will have actual supporters, not followers.
Right. And just like everything, like, you have to like whittle it down to what you actually want it to be, right? You have to keep evolving. You have to listen to the response of your market, whether it be sales or, response in social media or whatever it is. Like, you really have to take it to a different level every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
You have to outdo yourself.
Every time.
And aside from that, be yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's most definitely. You have to be who you are.
Yeah. See, what makes a lot of these, YouTube personalities, a lot of content creators, Instagrammers and shit, what makes them so popular, what makes them like, millions of followers deep, is the fact that they're just being themselves. And a lot of people flop at it because they're trying to be somebody else that they're not. That's one of the things that gravitated me towards you, is when I'm going through Instagram, it's a lot easier nowadays to spot the fakes, right? Not the fake accounts, but like the people that really aren't being themselves.
Right.
And yeah, I see a page like you and I'm like, yeah, dude, this chick's legit. Like, she ain't afraid to put her shit out there. Like, she's fucking hustling, right? And she's being herself. Like, I'm sure she's not holding back, and that's all there is to it, and she's not hiding anybody from the world. Like, you're up front. I got 2 kiddos. This is what I do, and all this shit. Like, I run through people on Instagram that don't have a single picture of their kid on there, nor do they mention that they're a mom, right? And then you find out later, you're like, what the fuck? Like, you have 6 kids?
Right.
Like, like, why you got to do that,
Oh, no.
And that's a part of your everyday life. I mean, that's a part of being yourself, like owning up to that. And I see that you're also doing a lot of movement with women empowerment, which I love.
Yes, huge.
Tell me about that.
Huge. So actually, I met the founder through one of my shows. She was hosting a show through her foundation, which is Boss Women Unite. And when I signed up for it, I was very intimidated. It was my first show. People think you just go and set up and that's it. And people just gravitate to you, right? Because if they want to buy your stuff, they're just going to show up. It's not the case. Like, you basically have to interview every single time somebody comes up to you. Like, what do you do? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I do? Like, I have my stuff here. But everybody wants to know your, like, synopsis of your story, right?
Right.
So that was very intimidating to step into that. But I thought to myself, this is the kind of people that I want to be surrounded by, which is all of these people who are entrepreneurs or, just working for somebody else. Because there's a lot of, people who sell third-party items. They're like, I don't know, Mary Kay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be surrounded by the movement of that they offer a platform for people who want to start a business or have established a business, but they have a place to sell without having a building to pay for. So it's just a vendor fair, if you will.
So that's what the Boss Women United is?
That is part of what it is.
Okay.
But that is how I met them. So I was very intimidated, like I said, for my first show. But I said, no, like, I have to. Like, if this is the people that I want to be surrounded with, like, I have to go find them.
Yeah.
They're not just going to come to me. So I met Tiffany there. And I met quite a few other women there that have then, become like great friends for me. But you have to surround yourself, with that like-mindedness where the lonely nights are not as lonely, right? Because people relate to you. People are like, man, I hear you. Like today, like these clients are just so demanding and they're like, girl, I know.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and you guys can talk about the same shit.
Yeah. And it even just helps in like helping to deal with that or dealing with just people in general. Like, I don't know what to tell this lady. Like, she's just like on my case, like whatever the case may be. Well, anyway, so that's how I started with her. And then I started doing show after show. Every time she posted she was going to do a show, I was there. And then that started building, a relationship. There was a show that I wasn't going to be able to do because it was on my birthday and I had plans. And I told her, you know what, whatever I can help out, donate any items. Like I just kept like staying involved within the program. I want to help out anybody else who needs it or anything like that. So it just like evolved into a relationship to where now I'm in the organization, helping out a lot more. And the organization is about empowering women into the business world, whatever it may be. You can be, a career boss or your own boss, whatever it is. But just like creating that environment where you can step into your power and have the confidence. We also offer training. There's a lot of training that we've been doing. She actually just opened her first office. It's on Park and Pennsylvania, which is between like Ajo and Irvington. And you can look it up at Boss Women Unite on Instagram. But they offer a lot of workshops where it is to help empower women in all different areas of life. In, not just the business world, but mental health, which is huge in anybody's life, right? But I feel like women need it a lot more just because we are all our worst critics. But I feel like the media breaks us down even more.
Belittles the shit out of them.
Right. And if you listen to it, or even if you don't listen to it, it's almost like it's there regardless of whether you're paying attention or not. But it almost gets into your subconscious mind, right? So like, why don't I look that way? Or I don't speak that way? Or I can't do what Irma does. Like she works from home. She has it all together. No, I don't. I absolutely do not. And that's where we address all these issues and help you cope with it. And there is a variety of different things. Like we just had we're going to have a website DIY workshop. Which is incredible because it's so intimidating. Like, yeah, it seems easy. And some people, like I'm still stumbling through it. I keep saying I'm going to work on it and I do. And then I stop because I get busy and then it's still there unfinished. But we have somebody that's helping us out with that and doing a workshop, doing a branding workshop. Like all of these things that are building blocks to a business in any field that you are, but they help you get all the resources that you need to help yourself.
Yeah. That's amazing. I would love to see you guys, and in addition to the DIY website, I would love to see you guys fucking plow through a YouTube channel. YouTube is like the library, like the modern day virtual library. Like if you need to learn how to do something, go on YouTube.
I mean, that's how I taught myself.
Yeah.
That's how I taught myself because I'm self-taught in all the programs that I use, all the processes that I use. So I'm very proud that I'm self-taught, but I'm not really self-taught. Somebody taught me right through YouTube, but I still stumble through it. Like you still have to watch like so many videos before you get a whole concept.
Yeah. And I love that, back in the day, it was obviously I wasn't really around back in the day, but even as a kid growing up, it was, hey, if you want to learn how to do something, get your ass to a library, check out a couple books, educate yourself on the topic, and then wing it.
Or not just that. The topic was go to school. You want to do something? Go to school.
Yeah, go to school. They'll teach you. Like, fuck it.
Yeah, do good in school. You want to be anything in your life, you got to do good in school.
Yeah.
And now I talk to my kids, and it's like, you know what? If you're ignorant in these days, it's because you want to.
Yeah.
My kids ask me things, and I'm like, go look it up. Like and they
fucker, you got YouTube, Google.
They get so mad at me. But it's true. It's so true. They get so mad at me. Like they hate hearing it.
Yeah. Well, you can get an instant response nowadays. We're spoiled as this millennium is definitely spoiled. But we did not have that kind of luxury to Google shit. And back in the day, Google didn't even have that much references anyway. So if you Google something and you're like, fuck, Google doesn't even know. So I guess I'm going to have to look it up. I'm gonna have to ask
do you remember when we had that ask.com?
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. And then it gave you different questions and
Yeah.
it ranked them. It ranked the answers.
Like, what is the most relatable?
Yeah,
That
and you're
was
like, well, I
dumb.
think I like this answer. I don't like this guy's answer. I like this guy.
And then you get your search, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now, like, you talk to your phone and you get your response.
Yeah, right away. It's instant. It's
I hate
amazing.
when people ask me questions over text. Like, what does this mean? I'm like, you really just text me?
Right. Like, dude, Google
you
it, bro.
could
It's
just-
quicker.
Yeah.
It's instant. It's insane. You can Google something, and it's funny because, and I have to admit that even in roofing, dude, like if one of my guys, and if I don't know how to do whatever it is that we need to do for repair or whatever, I'm like, bro, YouTube that shit. And they're like, they YouTubed
hear
it, tried it.
something
I'm like,
funny?
oh, that looked good.
My mom got an extension built to her storage building on the back of her house.
Uh-huh.
And she told me, I can't remember how it happened. This was years ago. And she told me that it was going to rain or something. The roof hadn't been done. The shingles hadn't been done, blah, blah, blah. But she had everything. And I'm like, Mom, I'll YouTube it. I roofed her freaking.
Did you really?
I did.
That's badass.
I did. Mom has so many pictures. She was like, being a mom. Get down. You're going to get hurt. I'm like, Mom, just let me do this.
Dude, send me those pictures, please.
my
I'm going to use those in the next meeting. I'm like, yo.
You should.
Yo, do you guys want to see a badass? Do you guys want to see a certified badass?
Oh, that's funny.
That's bad. Here, I'm going to add that to the list. Airplane mechanic, roofer.
Amateur roofer.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's badass. But I love what you guys are doing with the women empowerment because I think now more than ever, given the amount of resources that we have to reach a global audience instantly with literally in the palm of your hand, literally, right? It's important to remind women that they are important.
Right.
Men came up with that term. Women, you can't live with them. You can't live without them, right?
Amen.
I personally think that's a stupid term because I think women are the actual, like, they are a superior being. Like, men ain't shit. I want to tell you that right now. Like, what you guys have to go through biologically and in society is fucking, it's amazing. The fact that
It's incredible.
the fact that you guys still have, the will to keep going, like you guys, here's what I think we should do. And there was a country, I think it might've been Sweden. No, Iceland. I think it was Iceland.
I don't know what you're going to say, but it sounds like Iceland.
I think it's in
You're so
Iceland.
progressive.
Yeah. I think it was in Iceland. So after I forget what year their economy took such a big dump, right? Because of big banks and all this shit, similar to our economy. And the women took over. And when the women took over the country, like they literally said, "Men, step the fuck aside. We are taking this bitch over and we're gonna show you how to drive this ship," right? Oh, they turned that shit around real quick and they quickly became the world's greatest economy. I think it's Iceland. Yeah. I'm gonna have to check facts on that.
Well, just think about it in general. In general, society, there's a reason why, let's go back to slavery. There's a reason those homes were so well managed.
Yeah, you use the word manage. Absolutely.
Managed, right? All of these powerful men that came supposedly from that era, Well, who were the nannies taking care of those homes, managing that kitchen, managing those kids?
It's a hard fucking job, dude.
It is, because it wasn't the moms.
Yeah.
If we go back to that era, I went into actually with Women Unite, and it's, people think of this, but they, when you get it put into certain words and perspective, there's a series called Women Who Dine that we do. And we get a guest speaker, whatever the topic is that month. This last one was with a sexologist. And she really, she has such an amazing, energy with her. So she carries herself. But, she really, who runs this world, right? That's the first question, right? We're opening the event. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, money. What do we not have enough of? And, this money, time, blah, blah. And then she's like, no, it's all these women in here. Who controls life? It's you.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with it? Right? So,
Yeah.
like it changes your perspective into a lot of things. There's a reason why in the past men have held us back or dumbed us down, right?
Yeah.
Because they realize the power that there is in, the powerhouse of life.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are, it's mythological how powerful a woman is. It's, yeah, respect, right? And that, see, a lot of guys, a lot of men still don't, but should really, really, really try and understand a woman's perspective, right?
And I feel like they almost feel like it takes away from theirs, but it doesn't. I feel like we each have our own place.
Yeah.
And just like anything, we should learn how to coexist. But there is the time, and the time is now for us to take our power back.
Yeah.
And it's a huge movement, and that's also something that we're working on with Boss Women Unite. But that time is now, and then it should be able to, flip back to where like we can coexist and be able to do, the power swap.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is a kingdom ran with a king and a queen, or a queen and a king?
The queen runs the shit though.
Oh, most definitely. You
Yeah.
know, like they need that backup always. And the man's just like there to be a puppet. I guess.
Exactly.
Just joking.
Yes. No, and I completely look, I'm not, I'm for equality of everything. As a matter of fact, I am a huge disbeliever, and I'm very anti, I call them human filters. Like, why the fuck are we still filtering people by gender, by race, by
anything.
ethnicity? Like, why do we still have to fill in bubbles to tell people down to the filter who we are right on paper? Like, that's some bullshit. Why can't we just be people?
Yeah. Human,
like you say,
race.
coexist, right? Why can't we just be human? Like there should be two options: human, not human, right? Which one are you?
That's
like,
it.
That's
and
it.
even then, like, why do you have to even go that far? Yeah, no, it's incredible to me. That's something that I teach my kids a lot.
It's amazing.
Is human is human, no matter what color, what your sexual preference is, what you identify as, what you speak for, what your values are. Like, we need to coexist.
Yeah.
Like, that is the only way we, as a human race, make it out of this.
Aside from existing, I never get into politics, but I do recommend, guys, if you guys really want this country to turn around, get rid of all the men, replace them with women, and you're going to see just how quickly this ship's going to turn around, right? Just how quickly America really is going to become great for the very first time. Not again. This place has never been great.
Right? Isn't that crazy? Like, why do you keep thinking again?
We've never had a golden era in America. So for people to think that we're going to shine light back on when America was great, that's fucking hilarious.
Yes.
Because America's always been racist, more so in the past than ever. So please highlight when the fuck.
Yeah.
It was great, right? We've always been racist. We've just been disgusting as a country, right? I love my country, don't get me wrong, because it's a land of opportunity. That's what's great about America.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. It's a place where immigrants can come. Well, fuck. Harder now more than ever, but back in the day, immigrants can immigrate over here, start their own business, become millionaires. You can't really do that anywhere else, right? Successfully. Right. But yeah, I definitely think, like, let's look at it this way. Like, we rely on women, or have in the past. Going back to the whole slavery thing, women have run the household, which is a very hard thing to do, right? So why would we think a woman can't run the White House?
No.
Come on, guys.
No.
Keep your dick in your pants. Like, put your testosterone aside and realize that women are better equipped for this shit than men are. Let's face it, right?
It's the whole management thing. Like, it has
you guys are incredible managers. Like,
and multitaskers.
Yes. Like, it's incredible. Like, I can't even. Yeah, I just can't. I can't. Like, yeah. Guys are like, we really are kind of like dogs. Like, we're like, oh, squirrel. Like, and we're like, fuck, squirrel. Where's the squirrel, right? You're working. You're like, oh, fuck, there's a squirrel over there, right? And women are just so goddamn focused. They're like, hell, like, no, we're going to do this shit. And they're serious about it. Like, and these are all reminiscence of just, me witnessing, my wife just do her thing. I'm just like, damn, this chick's a machine. And it's natural. I'm like, fuck, where do you get, so there's always things we can learn off of each other. And I love that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. There is a lot. And you imagine now that like we are in this movement and it's only the beginning. So once we're actually there and you can say, like women have taken their power back, like in what world we would live in.
Yeah. Oh fuck! I think I want to go to Iceland for a little bit and
Right?
see what it's like over there. Because if they're as prosperous as they say they are, then
I know. Why do
then I
we
wanna
keep
live there.
following these countries that are not doing well for themselves?
Oh yeah, like we're gonna try out what they got going on down over here, right? And all these
they're
different.
just sticking their noses where it doesn't belong. Anyways, politics.
But
Yuck.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's one of the things. But yeah, that is that's just a subtle recommendation for all of you. Because oh man, I don't know why people care about that shit so much.
I don't think it
I know people
matters.
say, "Oh, your vote matters," and this, all that, and I'm just like,
Does it?
dude. I mean, yeah, man. Like, dude, yeah.
I mean, I understand, especially, I mean, here we are getting politics again. But with what is going on right now, I think it matters. But in the grand scheme of things, I think the whole process, the whole mentality needs to change.
Yeah, I think. Well, nowadays, I think politicians have literally just turned into public rock star figures.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, and right now we got two guys just flexing their bank accounts. Just
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
that's
let me
the
see
worst
who
thing,
can-
though. Like, who is representing me?
Yeah.
Not these guys with money. Not these guys. Let's stop
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You are not representing me.
No, and it's just crazy. I think people should just focus on what makes them happy. Politics doesn't make anyone happy because it automatically sparks debate, which is why I never get into politics. I don't even tell people my political views or beliefs or any of that.
Politics and religion.
Yeah, those
Don't
are
talk
the
to me
two.
about it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's why I never talk about that stuff on the show. We never pop names regarding that or anything like that. I try to stay away from religion as a subject because, again, it sparks debate, and debate sparks other chemical emotions.
Right. People
Yeah.
get emotional with items that they feel strongly about.
Yeah.
Which is natural.
So when did you realize that this was meant for you? Like being a self-employed, working for yourself.
Just like I said, I had a lot of trouble leveling up in the career I was in.
That was
So-
your like fucking nail in the coffin. You're like,
No, see, that was the beginning because I understand that you're going to be a number to a corporation, right? Because the CEO is not going to know my name. But when you're a number to even your manager that knows you by name, or sometimes can't even remember your name when there's only, 40 people that he mans, like that was the beginning of shedding light. Like, I really need to do my own thing.
so you weren't in a position where you were like, I need to find another job or I got to think about switching careers. Like you literally went from fuck this to I'm going to open my own business.
No, like that was the beginning of my mentality changing
Okay.
because there's a lot of inner work that I had to get over. So see, that is one thing that that I still fight with, that I had to let go.
Tell me what you had to let go of, because that's huge. Because a lot of people seek advice, and here's a big thing. Okay, a lot of people seek advice on how to start their own business, how to do this, right? They're trying to DIY something, so they want to see a hands-on visual teaching experience to teach them how to do it. What nobody's teaching is the mental boot camp you got to put yourself through before you even think about doing any of this shit, right?
Oh yes.
Because you can't just go from pawn to king right away.
No.
Right? Like it doesn't happen overnight. You can't just reconstruct yourself physically for it. It's a huge mental boot camp you have to put yourself through.
Yes.
How did you do that? Because I hear you're bringing that up, and I'm very interested to see how you did that.
It was a lot of inner work within myself, a lot of self-healing I had to do, a lot of perception and mentality that had to change. My biggest was my family. My family was the biggest thing I had to let go. And not to let them go, like I don't talk to them anymore or anything like that. Me and my family are very close. It was the mentality of an immigrant household. So it was, so my mom, single mom also, she single mother of 2 kids, met my dad. She met my dad shortly after, found out I was on the way. And my dad, you know, we living in Mexico at the time, my dad said, you know what, we need to think of different opportunities for this child that's coming in. Like, she cannot be born here or she cannot live here. So, you know, years down the road, my dad passes away from cancer. Now we're still in Mexico. A year after that, my mom decided to leave. So she left Mexico, single mom of 3.
So you were born in Mexico?
No, I was born in the U.S., but I was just born in the U.S., then went back to Mexico.
Really?
Yeah. So I was born in Douglas, went back to Agua Prieta. And then I was 3 years old when my mom decided to come to the U.S. My mom was a field worker. So she was, you know, picking lettuce, onion, cabbage, also a very labor intensive job. And
in Agua Prieta?
In Wilcox at the time. So
Really?
That's when she came to the U.S.
Okay.
And also very male dominated. So
Yeah.
she had to go through a lot with that also. So she did that for about a year or so. And then she decided, you know, that's enough. Came to Tucson. So I've always thought, like, if she, you know, went through so much and my dad convinced her, you know, that opportunity was just not for me in Mexico, like, I really need to live up for that. I really need to step up my game every single day for that. For her, that she can still see me, but also for my dad who can't. So that mentality of living in an immigrant household is very hustle oriented. Like, you're always grinding.
Oh, yeah.
But being in an undocumented immigrant household was very under the radar.
Yeah.
Very under the radar. We weren't allowed to, like, speak up, cause any trouble. Nothing that was going to call attention to us, right?
Yeah.
So even though I was legally here, that mentality was everywhere, right? Not in our home. In our home, you know, you're proud Mexican, you know, Sonora all the way.
Yeah.
But as a mentality, you know, even though that they don't know that they were doing it, they were. So that mentality has carried through me for years. And even to a point where there was a point in my life where I didn't even want to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Because I was made fun of my accent. I was called names. I used to get followed from school. I used to get in fights every day in school because of it. But then one day I was at the grocery store with my mom. And this was shortly after the law was passed that, you know, English was the language of the U.S., right? So we were at the grocery store with my mom, and I was probably like, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. And this guy comes up to us and, you know, tells us that if we're going to be in the U.S., we need to speak the language. So I went off on him, right? I was speaking Spanish to my mom, and he thought, you know, that I wasn't going to understand. So I went off on him. Meanwhile, my mom's like, calm down. Like, you don't want to cause a scene. And I'm like, no, like, this is enough. Like, I finally, at that point, at 14 years old, was like, this is enough. Like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I understand that we have to keep quiet for certain reasons, but I don't. And if I can be your voice, I'm going to. So that's when that part of my life started. But that mentality still carried through everything. Like, I played it safe in college. I played it safe in my marriage. I played it safe and everything, right? Until, like, even when I was getting ready to quit my job, I was like, oh my God, like, my mom's going to give me so much shit. And yeah, like, I didn't tell her until, like, I had already quit for a week.
Wow.
Because I knew she was going to be like, ay, mija, you know, like, but she's up to a point where now she's like, well, you know what you're doing. Like, you're going to do whatever you want anyway. So I don't even know why I tell you.
That's good. Yeah.
But that was a huge, huge thing, is to change my own perception on everything, on life, on myself, to be able to begin to conquer this, because I don't feel like I'm there yet. I feel like I'm just now beginning, even though I've been doing this for years.
Do you feel like you'll ever truly feel like you're there? No matter how much money you've made, no matter how high you've reached, do you ever feel like you're going to be satisfied? That's what I struggle with.
I'm struggling with that now.
Yeah.
Just because, so see, I always raise my bar, right? So there's always that aspiration of like, and that's something that I've read up on. Like, how are you going to be happy if you keep moving your bar, right? So it's not there's a difference in being happy and being joyful.
Yeah.
So you can't be happy and be sad at the same time. You can't be happy and be disappointed at the same time, but you can be joyful in where you are in your life in general, a general statement. Even though you have bad days, you have, days that are just like unbearable, but you can be in a general statement, joy of life, of living. So that's a huge thing, is like to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I'll ever be satisfied, like, oh, okay, I'm at the top of my throne, like, this is what it is. No, I think you get painted this dream of like whatever, it is, that you're going to go to school, you can get a job, you're going to make all this money and you're just going to be great, right? But it doesn't work out that way. I was never satisfied. See, because I went to college, I got married, I had kids. I wasn't satisfied.
Right.
It wasn't enough for me. And when I started to move towards that, then I started creating friction in my life, and then that created other things. But that was me stepping into what I am now, right? Because I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And even though like sometimes they're like, oh, what would you change about your life? There's certain things that I would say like instantly, like, yeah, don't do this, right? But in all, like, the grand scheme of things, all of that, even the bad parts, like, made me who I am now. So I would not take it back.
Everything is a learning lesson if translated correctly.
Right. If you view it that way. So that's where I had to change my perception. Like, I was in what I feel is a big mentality of people nowadays, is that like the woe is me. Like, why does this keep happening to me? Like, doesn't anything good happen? Or why can't I just be great? Well, what are you doing towards it?
Right.
Like, it's not just going to fall in your lap. And sometimes you have to search for the lesson or search for the positive. It may not always be there. You
gotta find the message in the bottle. And sometimes the bottle's big and obvious. Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes like, because I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, like something horrible can happen to me. And I'm like, well, I don't know why this happened to me now, but I'll figure it out eventually.
That's a great way of thinking about it. And that all ties into what kind of mindset you need to have if you want to do your own thing. And aside from that, I think people need to also understand that in my opinion, there's a difference between the word satisfied and the word happy. I think those are two completely different things.
Very.
Because when somebody tells me, dude, you're never going to be happy because you're never satisfied. And I'm like, well, firstly, those are two completely different concepts. Right. They might seem like they're the same, but let's talk about sex. Right. Okay. So there's a difference between, holy shit, that blew my mind, I'm so euphoric, I'm so happy about it, right? And this is satisfied. Like, hey, how was it? It was all right, I'm satisfied.
I mean, you got to the point, right?
Right. Like, I'm satisfied, right? Versus, holy shit, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? And the two biggest differences are, I'm happy here and I'm satisfied here. So when it comes to happiness, raising the bar isn't a bad thing. Never being satisfied isn't a bad thing, because you're pursuing happiness. So if you want to think of it that way, as happiness, that's the way I think of it. So I basically tell myself, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy when I do this. I'm already happy.
Well, I feel like that's the thing that people fall into, is that they wait to be happy.
Yeah.
Why?
You could literally be happy right now.
Exactly.
Like today, like right this fucking second, right now. All you got to do is flip that switch.
That goes back to the same thing. Like, you can be joyful about your life You don't necessarily have to be happy, because that's so fake that people say, like, they just drive like the positivity into your life. Well, you're going to have some negativity, and that's how you process that, right? That's going to make the difference. So just because I am joyful about living life doesn't mean that I'm always happy. And you can't like chase that. You can't chase that. Like, I'm going to be happy when I can buy that car, or I pay that credit card off, or I'm going to be happy when I lose 20 pounds. Why wait for that? Why not be happy because you're starting that process?
You want to know how, so again, going back to like the whole mental boot camp thing, how I helped myself become happy in a burning world was, I literally, this is kind of hard to do, but so I told myself I'm not going to love anything or anyone if that cannot love me back. And that's huge. Think of it. Mm-hmm. You want to be successful because you love money. I hate when people say, I love money, right? I got to have money, I love it. Money can't love you back. No. Same thing with time. I love doing things fast. Or I love it when, when things take their time, like time can't love you back. Mm-hmm. And that ties in with relationships as well. Literally physical people. If you're a girl and you're fucking caught up on a guy that doesn't love you back, then why? You're making yourself miserable, right. Not him. Right. Same thing with vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. If that person cannot love you back, don't waste your time. Same thing with anything in life. So when I lost my emotional connection with money, with time, with acquaintances and relationships that truly weren't going to help me, same thing with friends. Mm-hmm. If they can't love me back for what I am and what I want to do, then I don't want to love them. And that helped a lot.
Yeah, it's a form of detachment, right? If you're not bringing value to me, if you're not helping me be better, which in turn also helps you because it's just the way that,
it's the way it works.
Then yeah, like I'm not stepping in.
It's crazy. And it's what's crazier about this, and you guys will understand, again, going back to you might get the message 2 years later, right? And that has to do with money as well, because when I lost my emotional connection to money, it started pouring in. It's just like, well, I'm not fucking rich, but it like I never had to worry about it.
As a business, you are a successful business, and I hate when people put a number on it. Like, you're not a millionaire. Well, just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean you're satisfied or you're successful. I can be happy and consider myself successful at 60,000. Or at 100,000, or at 400,000, whatever it is, as long as I am successful at myself and where I am in my life, even though I'm evolving and I'm pursuing and I'm growing, like that's where it's powerful. At.
Yeah, and people, again, going back to the double meaning of rich and wealthy, like people immediately in society is fucked up here because they're chasing the wrong thing, right? They're chasing the money,
right?
And when you stop chasing the money, again, when you lose the emotional connection to that money, when you stop loving that thing that can't love you back, is when it starts following you, right? But rich and wealthy in today's society are probably have always been used to describe somebody that has a lot of money,
right?
Or is financially set. To me, it's a very universal word, because you could be rich in love, you could be rich in lust, you could be rich in happiness. Like, you could be rich and wealthy in different aspects of life that have nothing to do with money. And that's what I'm after. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be wealthy in all of these euphoric, dopamine, serotonin secreting emotions that make me wealthy. Like, fuck the money. Like, that doesn't matter. Right. But that's what I'm after. And that's why I will never truly be satisfied. Because I'm like, okay, I want to be happy. And I want to be this, and I want to be that, and I want to be this. And all of those just build your character to a point that makes you look like you're fucking not human. Then you can check that box. It's not human.
Right.
Human, not human.
Back to that
you know what
form.
I mean? Yeah. So that's what I'm after. And I think that's what a lot of people need to do. And all this has to do with, again, mental boot camp. Huge. Put yourself through that ringer. Put yourself through that training.
That is your toughest battle, is yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself. And a lot, it's a lot of inner work, like I said. For me, it was a lot of my upbringing, my environment, But there has to be a point where you take ownership of that. Like, are you going to let I grew up in the South Side, no opportunities, immigrant household, whatever name you want to put on it? Or am I just going to turn it around and say, like, no, that made me who I am. And I'm going to prove it to myself, because you have to let go of that external satisfaction of like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah. You
have to do it for yourself.
You do.
Because who is the person that is always going to be there is yourself. You can't do it for anybody else.
No.
You have to. So that is the biggest battle, is fighting yourself.
Yeah.
And putting like everything else aside, your environment, your titles, your names, your whatever have yous that you have down the line told yourself or somebody else has told you, but you've held on to that. You have to let that go and, start from scratch. Like, here we go. Yeah. Like, are we going to ride this out, or, are we going to let everything just fall on us and crush us?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all in perspective. And I really, really, really love that, we have a very, very relatable backstory. Mm-hmm. I also grew up immigrant household. So many people have. Mm-hmm. And we're too quick to generate an excuse as to why we're not happy, right?
Right.
And I'm sure you can relate to a lot of this, okay? And so can so many people that grew up in an immigrant household, whether you're Mexican, Indian, Middle Eastern, whatever ethnicity you grew up in. Not that it matters or should matter. We can all relate to, like, us being our parents' parent.
Right.
Growing up that way.
Yes.
Because my dad never learned English.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knows a little bit, just enough to get by in a conversation. But aside from that, he didn't learn anything else. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know how to buy a house. Right. Doesn't know how to buy a car. Doesn't know how to do taxes. And doesn't know anything else other than work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. I'm not complaining about it. But that's one of the things that we grew up in, with our parents being immigrants. Like, we had to learn a lot of shit very fast. So we had to grow up a lot quicker than we mm-hmm. wanted to mm-hmm. because we had to kind of fill in their shoes. Right. You know what I'm saying? We had to be their voice, mm-hmm. And I'm still living that. And I think it's powerful and inspiring to see people succeed, given like there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it as all this shit's an excuse for me not to succeed because you could bitch about it, right? Oh, I had to be my mom's mom growing up, or I had to be my dad's dad growing up.
Right.
Or I had to fucking translate every letter that came in the mail. I had to all this I had to pay their bills. All this shit, you can look at that as an excuse, or you could be fucking grateful that they sacrificed everything they had to have your ass here. Absolutely. And now it's your time to shine, buddy. Like, you have to prove that everything they sacrificed was worth it. Mm-hmm. Because crossing that border people make a joke out of it, and I fucking hate that, because that's a big fucking deal.
It is.
It's a big fucking deal. The physical and emotional toll it takes on a human being to do that. Like, hearing my dad's story of him crossing over here it's crazy. It's horrendous.
Oh yeah. And people talk about it like it's a no big deal. Like, you just get to come here and then that's it. Like, you're set for life. No, absolutely not. Like,
and a lot of people come here with no money.
No language.
They spent it all.
The language is just they spent it trying to get here.
Yeah. And then when they get here,
there's no plan.
The only connections they have is somebody communicating, saying, hey, there's work here, there's work here, there's work here. They get here and realize that the work that they're going to be doing is god awful, right? Probably pays less than what it's worth. But they shut up and do it.
Right.
They do the fucking work because they know that this is what they have to do. And all of that is a sacrifice that is taken for granted by so many Mexican Americans.
Yes.
So many. And we are a part of that generation where there are millions and millions of Mexican American, and not just Mexican American, first generation Americans, right? From immigrant families. And they take that for granted. Like, start there, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, if you think your story sucks, it doesn't, dude. Start right fucking there, dude.
Perspective.
Absolutely. And that's my biggest inspiration is is not, I've lived this tragedy filled life. God, I've had to do this for my dad and I've had to do this for my mom. And fuck that, dude. Like, I'm grateful for it because look where I'm at now because of what I've had to do as a kid.
Right. And that's because your perspective changed.
Yeah.
Or was already there. People don't see that.
And that's huge.
Enough.
And honestly, it really angers me to see that there's so many kids not doing anything with the opportunity that their parents gave them.
You know, and it also, you know, back to the happiness, it doesn't mean that you have to have your own business. It doesn't mean that you have to, you know, go out and, you know, be a CEO of a certain company. Like, all your parents want is for you to be happy.
That's it.
And that makes that whole trip, you know, a success because that's why they did it, right? Better opportunities. And it doesn't matter what it is. So don't get caught up because this is, you know, for entrepreneurs, that's all it's for.
No.
It's a whole mentality of life, and it has to be surrounded by the mentality of happiness and to change your perception to find it because it's there.
Yeah.
It's just, what are you focusing on? What are you listening to?
Absolutely. And aside from that, switching that perspective of, you know, I don't know about you, but for me growing up, my parents always told me, hey, I want to give you everything I didn't have, right? I want to buy you everything I didn't have and all this stuff. And honestly, just living here is already more than enough because an hour south to that border, dude, it's crazy. You drive 1 hour to Nogales and it's a completely different world and people take that for granted.
Oh, yeah.
If you were born if you were born inches south of that border, like your life would have been a lot fucking different. Just the fact that you're here breathing the air and it's over here.
Yeah, that imaginary line.
Yeah, I mean, right? Just the fact that you're here is enough, bro. Like, you don't need to come from money. You don't need to be spoiled. They don't need to buy you anything. The fact that you're here and when you are an adult, you have all these opportunities available. You're just going to have to capitalize on them. That's enough. And my thing has always been, you know, and I've interpreted it as is, okay, maybe my parents did what they could to accomplish what they wanted, and that's give me everything they've never had. And they've done that. For me, it's, okay, now that I'm here, I need to teach you guys everything you never learned.
Right.
You know?
Most definitely.
And it's going to be that way with my kids. My kid don't need shit, you know?
Right. Of course. My kids get so mad when I tell them things like that. Like, you know, right. Like when our dads used to say like, you know, I had to do this to go to school and like all of this stuff crap. Right. Like you get tired of listening to it. Well, I do that to my kids now. Right. And I tell them, you know, when they ask for that next game or can I buy this game on my iPad or whatever, I'm like, you know what? When you get older, you're not even going to remember that.
Yeah.
Because if I look back at my childhood, like I do not remember any gift other than what my dad left me when he passed away. I do not remember any gift I ever had, any toy that I've ever got, nothing.
Yeah.
But I remember the times where my mom working 3 jobs and she managed to schedule one day off with all 3 jobs at the same time. And she let us call in sick to school so we could like go out to a movie. Like that's what I remember.
That's amazing.
That's what I remember. It's like all of these like life experiences that you didn't think
you take for
were
granted.
important.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell the kids. Like you have to like actually pay attention. What do my 6 and 9-year-old know, right? Yeah. But I'm hoping that one day, you know, when they get older, because I hear the words of my mom now that I'm older, or the words of my grandmother, like, man, like they really knew what they were talking about, even about life in general.
Speaking of grandmothers, dude, how many kids did your grandma have?
16.
My grandma had, I think, 10. Yeah. Well, one of them had 10. The other one had 10 too. Dude, speaking of superhumans, yo, our grandmas probably had all of their kids with no epidurals. No fucking delivery room.
My grandmother was a midwife at the town that she was from. Mm-hmm. And she told me a story of like, they had outhouses, right? Yeah. She told me one time that she went out in the middle of the night to the outhouse to use the bathroom. She wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
And because she's had so many kids and she had like a midwife, right?
Yeah.
She said she practically sneezed the kid out.
Wow.
I'm like, and I think about that now, like, oh God, no, like I would never, right?
Yeah.
But like the strength in this woman, like she's another like powerhouse.
You know, they say
of
they
mine.
don't make men like they used to anymore. You guys need to stop saying that shit. Okay. They definitely don't make women the way they
No,
used to.
we're so spoiled now.
Absolutely.
We are all so spoiled, and people always complain about how hard it is. Man, this is the best it's ever been. Like, do you not realize?
Yeah. The most convenient it's ever been.
As a society, like this is
Yeah.
the most convenient, the most comfortable society has ever been.
Yeah.
You can't complain.
Yeah.
My internet's slow. Oh, shut up.
Remember dial-up?
Yeah.
I remember AOL used to be the only internet provider
Right.
back
You
in
had to
the
get
day.
that disc.
Yeah. You'd connect a long-ass cord and just hear
Get
it
everybody
crank up.
off the phone lines.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
telling
no.
my nephew because we actually just finished taking full legal guardianship of him, and he's 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I'm literally the dad to a high schooler right now, and I feel like I just graduated high school myself. And anyway, I tell him because kids nowadays, I'm bored.
Overstimulated.
I'm bored. I'm like, dude, you have an iPhone 11 or whatever the fuck it is, right? An iPhone 11. You have every game you want, right? Everything. And then he says, all these games and, and YouTube. Like, I'm just bored. And I'm like, fuck, dude, well, read a book.
Yeah, right.
So I buy him books and make him read them, and I make him do book reports on them and shit like that. And, but anyway, I was telling him, I'm like, dude, you are so damn spoiled, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
They don't see it.
I'm like, dude, let's talk about porn, dude. Okay, back in my day, bro. Okay, like I got my hands on a magazine. I was the happiest kid going through puberty. I was happier than a fly on shit, right? Because I had a magazine that we were sharing in between like 10 friends, and each one got to take it home for a day, and we secretly gave it to each other, and we rotated it.
Well, not even just that.
schedule.
Like you had to wait to like past 11 to watch like something on HBO.
Yeah.
That wasn't even like anything compared to now. That's like normal TV now, right?
Yeah.
And you were like
the softcore stuff on
Yeah,
HBO.
yeah.
And see, I would take advantage whenever, because we switched. My mom, growing up, I mean, they truly couldn't afford, the cable and the small
Oh no, this
stuff
is
that
like
we wanted.
trial. Like you have a
Yeah,
trial of
yeah.
something. You're like, all right, this week it's on.
So whenever, and see, they probably burned every cable. I mean, we went through Dish, Cox, not because we were unsatisfied, but because they sent the other one to collections and had to go with Cox next, right? But I would always take advantage because they always give you a 3-month trial to HBO or Cinemax or whatever, and I'd wait till 11 to watch the softcore stuff. And, right? Like that's the generation we grew up in, and nowadays kids can literally like porn's like YouTube.
Oh my God, it's so scary though.
It's fucking insane. I'm like, dude, and he's going through puberty, so me and him have these conversations, so it's super cool. And, and he's
No, and you have to, because you don't want to create that like mentality where it's shunned upon, which a lot of people grow up that way too.
Yeah, it's life, and it's modern. It's always been around, right? Adultery's always been a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm telling him even that's convenient nowadays. I'm like, dude, man, I would, like my hand would be sore
Oh my God.
if I were in your generation right now. Like I would fucking look like Popeye walking around.
One arm.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's incredible. But I'm all about not only empowering women, but empowering people, and specifically, and I hate to be specific, but specifically people that came off of immigrant households, that grew up off of that.
Yeah.
Because there's such a huge audience that isn't being channeled,
Right.
and it's that generation. And if they're being channeled, they're being channeled wrong.
Right.
It's okay to grow up from nothing. It is okay for your parents to not leave you anything. They've done enough. They've literally left everything they had to come here to this country for your little ass.
Right.
Right.
Right. Take advantage of it.
And you could be 30, you could be 40, you could be 50. If you're a first generation American, do not take any of that shit for granted, right? It's incredible.
I have a lot of friends who are that person coming over too, which is a different mentality, right? Because you are like, they don't have any kids yet, but they're the ones that are just coming over. So they will be that mother and father that came over and left everything. And that's a different mentality, because now I have the opportunity to help the younger version of my mom. You know,
it's amazing.
that is amazing.
That is true.
That is amazing. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, which I never thought that I would be.
Yeah.
But like I said, everything happens for a reason, and there has been to build up throughout my whole life in the way that I've been shaped
Yeah.
with my life for these opportunities, because I never thought that I would be working with women like this.
Yeah.
And now I have the opportunity to, and it's something now that I want to reach out for now through Boss Women Unite. Like, I want to reach out to these women, and I want to be able to help them out mentally, professionally, and even just as a friend.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing what you can, the power that you hold, the influence that you hold when somebody relates to you.
And aside from that, I think what would really help your guys is not just your movement, but just the movement as a whole is the support of men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I hate to see people that are sexist, borderline sexist, or not even open to the idea of what, right? Immediately they think that it's going to be a war of genders. It fucking shouldn't be, man. We should all just support each other as a human fucking race.
There is a lot of women that I talk to where their husbands want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, because like you are now like putting a spike in your relationship. Like, why would you do that?
Aside from that, I'm like, dude, we're living in a generation where you don't even need fucking gas for your car. You can buy a car that's 100% electric, right? I mean, going back to fucking porn is on YouTube now. You can YouTube the shit out of it, and it's all free, right? On your mobile device. Like, we're living in a world full of innovation and just progression as a society. And the fact that we can't see eye to eye,
I think it comes down
ridiculous.
to an intimidation.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little intimidated by the women.
Yeah,
I'm intimidated.
You should be.
As fuck. Yeah.
No, but I think that's what it comes down to is an intimidation. I don't want to say it's like a machismo, but it kind of is.
It's the testosterone. Just let that shit go, dude.
Yeah. Like, it's not gonna make you any less. My mom used to say, you're not going to lose your balls by like letting this happen.
Yeah, you're not.
Like, they're not going to go anywhere. Or my mom used to say, like, did that hurt? Like, you're okay. You're going to survive. You're all right.
Te dolió.
Yeah.
That's badass, though. I hope the guys don't think I'm switching sides. I promise I'm not. I'm just at a point in my life where I've been able to have a higher level of understanding. You know, when it comes to, I mean, you know that saying, oh, put yourself in your shoes. But have you really tried? Like, have you really tried to empathize? Have you really tried to understand somebody else's perspective? Mm-hmm. Like, once you can reach a higher level of understanding is when you progress as a human being. And that's when you can start to use words like wise to describe yourself, right? Like, there's, it's so important to me. Like, and there was a time in my life, and I'm not going to lie, and that's when I was younger, where I wouldn't read a book if it was written by a woman, right? I wouldn't watch a YouTube video if a woman was doing it.
And that may not have been like on purpose.
No.
It's
the way I grew up.
Yeah. It was just like a mentality. Like, you just skip. Like, it was like a natural thing to do. Yeah. And it's something that you have to consciously do always, because like I went back to like media, which is also your environment, has such a big control in your subconscious that sometimes you make these decisions without even knowing. They just come naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. And whenever you see something or a product is put out that's made by a woman, you immediately assume it's intended for women. Right. So you're like, oh, this is for girls. Switch.
Right.
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 And it's always been that way. And it shouldn't be that way. I'm not gonna lie. The only videos I won't watch or I'll skip. It never comes up on my feed, but like makeup videos and stuff.
Right. Like, I mean, you have to put it into context. Like, you can't be that crazy.
Yeah. Right. But there's some talented dudes that do this shit.
Yes.
I've been seeing that. My wife watches these. There's this little, I think he's Filipino. I don't know what his name is, but the kid's a beast. There's a couple of them that are just beast at it. So props to that.
And it comes down to like having empathy towards everyone. And being able to put yourself into those shoes and just admire the hustle, admire the craft, let their work, their persona, their characteristics talk for themselves.
Define who they are, not
what you see. Not that cover.
Exactly.
Not anything, not any title that's placed on them or anything like that.
I think we could help society better. I think we could better society. And again, it all comes down to mindset, right? It comes down to mindset. It comes down to perspective, which is probably my biggest intention of this show. Like, that's the biggest reason I made this show. And it's not just here. I've started, I don't know if you know about this, but I'm starting a networking group of local individuals, and we're all going to meet at least once a month. I'm hoping more than that, but at least once a month, so that we can all practice our public speaking, because that's huge.
Oh yeah, I did just hear about that.
So if you want to join, let me know.
I would need that.
So
that is one of my fears.
It's everybody's fear. And what's crazy about this fear, this public speaking fear, is there isn't a product on the market. There isn't anything on the market that allows you to practice this thing without you paying an audacious amount of money.
Right.
Like even a course, like for example, here's the advice, and this is the reason why I started this networking group. Here's the advice I was always given when I would ask people, hey, I want to get better at public speaking. Read this book, read this book, read this book. I read all the books.
Right.
I'm like, guys, I'm still scared as shit. Like, I'm still scared of public speaking. Just wing it, dude. You'll get comfortable. That's horrible advice. Yeah. So I go online. I seek Google for it. Same thing. Buy this course. Buy this course. Buy this course. And I'm looking for a product or something that's like, hey, join us, right. Join us. We're going to meet here. We're going to meet here. Take this course. We're going to meet here. And we're all going to practice this shit.
Right.
Because why the fuck would I take advice from somebody that's telling me to wing it? Like, if I'm a fighter and I'm training for a big title fight, I'm not just going to show up fight night and wing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I got to perform. And what do I have to do? I got to train for 90 straight days.
Right.
I got to train for 90 straight days and then go and show up to my title fight and try and win the fight.
Right.
It's the same way with public speaking. So I took that concept and I was like, all right, so I'm going to do this shit. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to find a group of people. I'm bad at public speaking. I'm probably bad because I've never tried it and I've never really been in an opportunity to do it.
I'm self-conscious. I think that's why I'm.
Everybody is. Like all these different things come out. Like you think of everything you're scared of. You're like, oh, I'm scared of spiders. I'm scared of snakes. You think of all these things when you're speaking. You're like, why am I thinking of all this shit?
You know, I think my biggest contributor, which comes down back to like leaving that mentality. Yes, I do need the practice, but because I was made fun of so much because of the way I speak.
Yeah.
Almost to a point where, like I said, I didn't want to speak Spanish anymore at that point in my life, where I'm very conscious of the way that I speak. Like if I say something wrong, still now I'm like in my head, like, oh, I said that wrong. Like why? Yeah. Why? But because somebody told me, like I really, like I understand in my brain that like let it go, but to practice it and let it go is what I need.
Yeah. So you should definitely join this group.
I'm in.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm committed right now.
I love it because everybody that's in this group, and not everybody's self-employed. There's a lot of there's some individuals that work for another organization but have a self-employed type feel. But I think this is a trait that people should get good at, because if you do want to do your own business, if you do want to be the CEO of something, you have to get good at it because you have to stand by your product.
Right.
Whether it's your product or your business or the business that you are running for somebody else. Either way, that's what's going to set you apart.
Right.
Because you think of like you're a CEO. Take Elon Musk, for instance. Mm-hmm. He's not a good public speaker. He just kind of stands up there and he's like, well, this is the Tesla truck. It goes 0 to 6. But he's fucking, and I'm not even judging him because he's got the balls to put a mic in front of his face.
Right.
Speak to an audience and unveil a new truck, right? And even though it bombed, he stood up there, rolled with the punches, and did what he could with it. But my point to that is he's taking the company by the balls and saying, come with me. I'm going to lead this company to exponential profits.
Right.
Which is the same concept that everybody should be taking. And that's the concept I'm taking with like roofing and shit like that. Like with a lot of local businesses, one of the things that, and I'm reading in all these marketing books and talking to different marketers and stuff like that, they're like, you've got to put your face on your business. Put your face on your business. Put your face on it. That was
so hard for me.
That's a hard thing to do.
Right. And it comes down to like your personal brand.
Yeah.
Because I did that for a while where it was just like my products, my vision. And then I went to a, because I'm always like educating myself, right? So I went to a social media seminar where they told me, you know, everybody's selling something. Everybody wants something from you. So what is going to make you different? You know, and I thought about like, oh, well, you know, quality, blah, 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 all this. They're like, no, it's how you're going to make them feel.
Yeah.
So it's the experience that you're providing to your customer, your client, your coworker, whatever it is. So how are you going to do that without giving a face to the name?
Yeah.
So that's when that personal brand started with me. So then, you know, I uploaded my picture and I went through all of that, and it was like, it was hard for me. And I don't know if it was hard like as my internal battle, but I think it had a lot to do with my background, because I was in a male dominated field where, like I told you earlier, like I always like hid behind my hat, or, you know, with my baggy clothes, my long sleeves. Like I had to look different to be in that mentality and have the same respect, that I didn't want to step into my new business and be judged on the way that I look, and people think that that's why I have the business that I have.
Right.
I wanted to build my business without the face, without anything personal, and then just make it happen. Right. Yeah. So then that's when I realized, well, no, the business is me. And because I hold such high value in the business, I have to. That's a given. I have to. And it's amazing, but it's grown a lot since.
It's incredible. And dude, like, don't look too far. You think of Tesla, who do you think of?
Right.
You think of Elon Musk. Like, when you think of the brand, you think of the car, you think of this guy with a South African accent,
right,
who sounds kind of funny when he speaks, right?
Yeah.
Going back to what you're self-conscious about. Yeah. But you think of that, and then you think of how rich this motherfucker is, right? Like, the dude fucking made a company, the Boring Company, and he's making flamethrowers because he fucking wants to. He's launching cars into space. He's doing shit. He's like the Tony Stark. Like, you think of him as Tony Stark, like the real life Tony Stark. And you think of Berkshire Hathaway. You think of Geico. I think of Warren Buffett, right? Same with Coca-Cola. I think of Warren Buffett because he's one of the biggest stockholders of Coca-Cola. Microsoft, think of Bill Gates. Apple, you think of Steve Jobs. Right. Now Tim Cook, but even Disney, I think of Bob Iger. You know, I think of the CEO that's running the company, because that is what the company is. That person's values, that person's guidance, that person's leadership, that person's candid ability to grab a mic and drive his company and the stocks up, right? That is right there, like the personification of a brand. Right. And that's where you need to start. So I'm glad that you stepped out of that comfort zone. Yeah. And me, like, when I kept hearing that, because I wasn't putting my face on this company, the America's Best Roofing Company, mainly because I was like, what are they going to think about a Mexican running America's Best Roofing Company and all this shit, right? And my profits almost doubled when I started putting my face on there. Right. Because now they attribute the services to a person and not some fucking company, right? Right. Not some like big, because I made the company to feel big, though it's small, 20 employees. I made it feel big. So when people they're like, are you sure you're locally owned and operated? Are you sure you're not out of Phoenix? Are you sure you're not out of this? Right. Like, and we have to confirm all these things. Nope, well, we're local.
And that's something that I'm huge on, is always holding myself to a professionalism in my business. Because if that's what I aspire to be, that's where I'm starting. That's
fake it till you make it. Because same thing with that. Like, if you're trying to create this illusion that you're a lot bigger than what you are, because you're holding yourself to a high professional standard, that's fake it till you make it. Not renting a Lambo and saying, hey guys, you guys want to make some extra money? Let me show you how, right? That's Click not, here. Yeah, that's when people say fake it till you make it, which is good advice when interpreted correctly. Right. And the correct interpretation of, just like anything, when you're marketing something, you make it bigger than what it really is. You know what I mean?
For me, it's a standard.
Yeah. Or a standard. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, it's a standard, and
just a high quality product standard.
Right.
Is what you stand for.
Yes. High quality. And I want it to be feasible, And that's something that I'm running into that I'm still trying to finesse to see how to change. Maybe it's my approach, I don't know. But a lot of people, when they either see me at a show, they think I'm out of their league, or they see me on Instagram, because that's my main interaction page. They think I'm out of their league, but I'm not.
You're human.
But right, like, approach me, talk to me, ask me questions. I work with anyone, everyone has budgets just like I do. So like, I can most likely understand what you're going through and work with you. But a lot of people, get intimidated by it.
Yeah. I feel you. I can completely relate.
I promise you, I look more expensive than I am.
Right. That's good. That's good. It's the same way with this company. Like, when people, like, when we give them their quote, they're like, hey, did you mess up on that quote? And we're like, no. Well, because you're X amount cheaper than the other quote. And I'm like, that's because we're priced accordingly. Like, we're not overpricing, right? We're giving you what you deserve.
Right.
And we're not saturating the market. We're not making people give discounts. We're being 100% honest, and integrity is everything, right? And there's so, like, and that's why we are going to fucking dominate the roofing industry in Tucson.
Yeah.
Because we're competing against a bunch of, 50, 60, 70-year-old guys that don't know shit about, really anything.
Right.
Because roofing is such a limited trade. Like, it's insane. Like, I'm so grateful that we've been killing it thus far, and all we're doing is being authentic. We're being authentic. We're holding ourselves high. We're not devaluing our product. And I'm putting my face on the brand and letting people know that, hey, this isn't, like, you guys already know what I do. It's in my name, right? Roofing company. It's in the name.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you guys why I do it, right? I'm going to show you guys what I stand for. And that's huge when it comes to creating a brand, creating a product. That's the first thing people need to get right. Not telling people what you do, but telling them why you do it.
Yes, your why is huge.
Yeah.
Is huge.
What's your
huge.
Why? You're like, where do I start?
Right, where do I start? Like I said, my company is evolving so much. So first I started for my kids, right? Like, I wanted to leave the legacy of, like, your own hard work pays off. Although I just said that it didn't, in my career. But, that was, filtered to their perception, not mine. I was successful in my eyes. I just decided to take a different route. So I feel like I had the grind and hustle from my mom, because she always had 3 jobs. She was hustling, to have, support 3 kids, single mom. But, to push that further along and, like, teach my kids that it is the hustle, but it's also your heart. It's your mentality. It's like all these well-rounded things that you and I had to learn.
Yeah.
Now, me in my 30s, that I just now feel like I'm starting to grow, where, people think, or I thought, like, I would feel like this in my 20s. Like, God no. So, like, I want to be able to help them start that journey earlier and, like, prep them for it, and, like, have that mentality almost instilled in them, not where, like, I had the total opposite. So it is for them to leave that legacy behind, because I don't have to. It's not like I want them to go into my business. No, I don't. I just want them to fall into their own happiness and work towards that. Because that's one thing I tell them all the time, money, it's not about money. Mm-hmm. It's not about money. Your career, it's going to be chosen upon your passion and what you enjoy doing. And even then I tell them, and if you fall into something and you enjoy it for a while, you can change it. But also giving back. Always giving back, helping anyone who's in need, which now has turned into, helping businesses, helping women. Also, my products, my merchandise has turned into more of sending a message out. So a lot of, like, the shirts that I make for my merchandise, my promotional items, have turned into more of a women empowerment movement.
Yeah.
So
there's a higher purpose now.
Yes. So my why is definitely my kids and what I'm leaving behind with them. And it is not going to be a number.
Yeah.
It is going to be a mentality, for sure. and being a voice for anybody else who needs it.
That's strong. That's strong. So your purpose, your why has even evolved over time as you you have. And that's something that people shouldn't get impatient with their learning curve. A lot of people say, "Oh, why didn't I learn this 10 years ago?" Well, maybe it wasn't meant for you to learn it 10 years ago, right? Maybe it was meant for you to learn it now. Like you say.
Yeah, you weren't ready for it because you hear a message. Because I don't read so much now because I'm just so busy. I'm more of an audio. So like I'm listening to something everywhere I'm driving. I'm always driving.
Yeah.
So I can hear a video, 3 or 4 times. And I get a different message every time.
Yeah.
There's some things that you weren't ready to listen to. There's some things that, your perception was different that day. Your mentality, your growth wasn't there.
Yeah.
Or it didn't relate to your life at that point.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different lessons that we learn throughout life. And it's not just because like, God damn it, like I wish I would have known this, it would have made so and so much easier. Well, it just wasn't for you then.
Yeah. And I think with time, I'm going to use the word se afloja, right? Your guard comes down a little bit, it loosens up a bit, and you become a little more optimistic because there's some times when you're listening to an audiobook and you're listening to somebody's advice, and as soon as they say one word that you don't agree with, you're like, I don't care what else you got to say, right? I'm done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but you grow as an individual. But as long as that learning curve is going up, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter how long it's taken for it to go up, like a stock, right? As long as that learning curve isn't curving down, you're good. And I think a lot of people get very impatient with it. They're like, fuck, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50, and I still don't have my life straight. That's okay. It's not too late to start. Never. Like you could fucking be 65 years old and retired, and you can finally find your purpose in life. Right. But as long as you find that purpose, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Maybe you needed to be retired for you to find your purpose so that you have more time to be a thinker, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you know, that's just the way it is. And with time, your why should also evolve.
Right.
See, I would be lying to you if I told you that my why is my daughter or my why is my wife or my kids or my dad or anything like that. They're all very important to me. But that is not my why, They're a reason as to why I get up every morning because I have to financially provide for them. But if you focus too heavily on, I've got to get this money, I've got to get this money, I've got to get this money, then your why stays the same. My why now, my purpose in life is absolutely helping people. But aside from that, I'm trying to build a metaphorical microphone that can broadcast a signal loud enough to reach an incredible amount of people. That's amazing. So that we can hear and we can truly change the world. Right. We can truly get rid of these fucking filters, truly get rid of ignorant people that aren't contributing to the right of society. Like truly, do something like that and create some sort of a movement. And the way I'm going to do that, and the reason why that's my why is and how I'm getting there is, well, let me start somewhere. Let me start by opening up a company. And I'm going to open 2 more. And then next year I'm going to do 2 more, and I'm just going to build all of this wealth of knowledge, right? Not wealth of money. Like, fuck that. Wealth of knowledge to be able to give back and be in a position 10 years from now, say, hey, I've lived this much life. This is how much I've learned. My microphone is built. Let's do this shit. Right. Right. So that's my why. My why is absolutely helping people. And
creating that ripple.
Yeah.
That ripple effect. Somebody has to start it, right? Yeah. And like you said, that there's a lot of people who say like, you can't do it, or like just laughed at you when you thought of the idea. Yeah. But they're the same people who are going to want to join you later on.
Absolutely.
But it has to start somewhere, right? All of our great leaders, and our great, law and order interrupters, like they all started somewhere, and that has created a ripple effect in you and I.
It really has. Yeah.
People who influence you. It doesn't stop there. It's that legacy that you pass on. So like, who are you going to affect, 30, 40 years from now?
And that's
like, it could be anyone. Like you hope it's your daughter that is, your biggest creation and aspiration and everything. And it very well could be, but she may also have her own ideas and pursuits. But it could be, somebody else, some other kid that found you on YouTube that was listening to you, and, that was the person that led the movement to change the perception of society.
Absolutely.
You never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons why I don't, this sounds selfish as fuck, but one of the reasons why I don't fully say, oh yeah, my daughter's my why, is because that's an easy route to go. And it's a lot harder to strip it down, because why is a question that should be asked after every response. So when you ask somebody something, right, you go, because when you really want to find somebody's purpose, why? Well, because I never had it. Okay, why? Right? Well, because that why?
Correct.
And if there isn't that many levels to strip it down to, then it's not a very good purpose. But something like changing the world has so many levels to it.
Right. Of
You
course.
can just keep asking why, down to the core.
And it's not selfish. Like your daughter, you know, of course you love her and is your motivation, but it goes beyond that.
Oh yeah.
And that is why, I started with my kids. Like that was my thing. But that has evolved into something that is so much bigger.
Yeah, and I love that, because you're acknowledging the fact that it's evolved. And with that, I mean, hell yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do this together.
Yes.
I'm gonna bring all these dudes and unite them with women, and,
There you
and
go.
we're gonna fucking do this
The
shit
men
together.
of women, boss women unite.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That'd be dope, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the works.
I like that. Yeah.
It is.
Well, I gotta admit, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, pleasure's mine.
Thank you so much for coming. For anybody that wants to find you, what's the best way to follow you on?
Instagram. Antonella Handcrafts.
Antonella Handcrafts. There's going to be a description of that, or a link to that in the description. Definitely follow my girl Irma. She's all about that girl power. Even if you're a dude, follow my girl Irma.
I fully support you all.
She's legit. If you need handcrafts, if you need anything done for your business, or just you.
Just me in general.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't necessarily, I'm all about the business, but I'm all about human empowerment. I know I preach a lot about women, but it's everyone. It's everyone, and owning yourself. Owning yourself and stepping into your own power.
Hell yeah. So Irma is definitely somebody in here locally where it's an honor to have you here local. Somebody like you here locally. I mean, seek inspiration from this woman. Fucking she's got superpowers.
You all inspire me. Inspiration is everywhere. I can't say that enough. You just got to know how to see it, where to look for it.
Where to find it. Well, I found some of it. This one's magical. This one's a superhuman. She's a single mother. She's working from home. She's just a fucking hustler. So find this woman, and you are an inspiration to me, and I cannot wait to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Wait.